So we're going to try this, but if the phone falls down, you guys won't see this. Because I'm not going to hold the phone while I'm driving. I did record a vlog last night actually. Went out, took a good walk, had some nice scenery in the background, even though it was nighttime. But when I played the videos, they were almost muted. So the Pixel did the stupid thing again where it split the video, so when I put it into Adobe, which I was going to do anyway to put them together, I tried to turn up the gain a bunch, and I could get it to where I could hear myself, but no matter how much I played with the noise, it wasn't something where I could get that stuff to go away and I would still be audible. So I'm trying again now, and if it doesn't work, then, well, again, you guys won't see this, but I'll figure something out. I don't want to do it in the hotel room because it's not like the walls are soundproof. So, did not go home last Friday, still in Portland, until this Thursday, when I am going home, not extending again. There is a possibility. I mean, I don't like bringing up stuff because twice before I was supposed to be going back to Japan, and then that didn't happen. So, but there's a possibility where sometime this year I might end up spending some time in East Asia doing some hands-on labor to get myself more familiar with the machinery that we work on. So that'd be nice. Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea, places like that. So you guys will definitely get videos if that happens. Not going to work yet. I'm going to the gym. So, topic at hand is Project Raider. I think when I got here, I'm pretty sure it was back toward when I got here. I went and I did a vlog and I talked to you guys about the positives. I had an idea where, in order to increase reach for the series, because again, that's the whole thing I want to do. I want to encourage people to start to understand the design that goes into their games and why the developers make the decisions that they do. Some of them are outside influences, things like publishers and budget and so on. But at least get them to start to understand and engage in discussion about why certain things are done in certain ways in games. And that was, again, something I always wanted to do, even when I was streaming. So that idea comes up again of, well, do I, instead of doing what I have planned, and that is coming out with episodes that are about an hour long each, do I break them down to nothing more than 20 minutes? And this came up again. No, don't. Because of Exis, actually. She saw my Instagram post. She saw a Twitter post. She is thinking about the project a lot. She's not really able to help me because it's just, I'm writing a script. But also wants me to do well. She wants it to be successful. We aren't talking ad revenue or any of that crap, because that's not what this is about. But she honestly believes that longer videos will not get the same number of clicks. And that is obviously something that I agreed with. I discussed it back then. So here I am reevaluating that idea again. So how is it even possible? So let's take a look at that. So let's do the positives and negatives at the moment. Positive of shorter videos is more likelihood of clicks. I can also make sure to do the tags for each video to focus on what that video talks about. And so even though it's not necessarily, let's say 4 of those shorter episodes for one of the longer ones, maybe I would be using all the same tags. But again, more search results bringing up these specialized videos so that someone can really hit the point that they're searching for, if that's what they want. And then maybe they'll decide to go ahead and click on the rest of them. A negative to doing shorter videos is people might perceive me as trying to do it to get more views on the channel, to get more ad revenue, which again is not the case. I'm not trying to make YouTube work. The amount of ad revenue I'd have to make is insane to come even close to what just working a regular job does. And I think that's what a lot of people who are considering YouTube need to think about. Just go get a fucking job and do YouTube as a passion thing on the side. So I don't want that perception. Perception is, you can easily say, well, don't care what people think. True, but perception does matter on YouTube when you are trying to have a brand. So I don't want that negative connotation. So let's look at some other factors. If I do these shorter ones, besides the fact that she brought up reach, she brought up that specialized episode, because if I'm not talking for an hour straight anymore, now I'm talking about specific topics, maybe only 1 or 2 per episode. So that's great. That allows for more thumbnails, more unique thumbnails, more unique titles, more likelihood that if someone sees the video come up in the search result, that the title and thumbnail will actually show them what they're looking for, instead of it being something more general. So that's good. Now let's add to the negative side. I did a word count when she brought it up on my intro, as it is currently, and I haven't touched it in a long time. I've just been continuing to type toward the end of the script, or just adding to the end. Still not even at my conclusion. And anyway, the intro is 1,200 words right now. And that's almost 10 minutes. So that would be mostly intro in that first episode if I decided to talk about something else. However, to add to that, I have just under 1,000 more words of notes to add to the intro. I didn't see it turn green when I'm looking to the left. So the thing about the notes, I keep doing these notes thing up at the top of the document, and I'm probably 15 pages worth of notes right now, because multiple benefits. Don't go back into, if you get thoughts about something, and I continually am, about something that's in the body of the document, just add a note and add it in later. That way you don't need to go back into the section, read through it again, get caught up, find the perfect part of where you want to add that thing. and then do that every single time you get an idea. No, put all the notes at the beginning, and that's great, because right now, through those massive, all those pages of notes, I've actually got multiple topics. Many topics have multiple little notes about them, and so now everything can go in at once. I can read through the notes, read through the section, and then kind of make it all flow, even if I need to rewrite a bunch of stuff. So that's just the way better way to go about it. And the intro with 1,000 more words, I mean, the notes in general, very rarely is it changing something. It usually is adding to. So that 1,000 words will probably turn into another 3,000 or so, being that the notes really are just notes. They're not the actual full thing I'm adding. For the reason I stated before, but also just I put enough words in there to make sure that I don't forget the idea I had, but that's it. I can make it a lot longer once I actually start putting it in there. So that 1,000 words could be 3,000, could be 5,000 more. So the intro could be an episode long on its own. That's a negative for a few reasons. One, that's an entire episode where I'm talking about what I'm going to talk about before I start talking about it. Not that entertaining. Not a good start. Two, the reason why I have an intro that's that long is, again, compared to the rest of the document or the script, it's a very minuscule fraction. So it is an appropriately sized intro, but if people just go straight to these other videos, and that will be much more likely, because it's not like someone is going to search for game intro, then unless they're looking for like an opening song or something like that, they're not going to see that video. They're going to see one of the videos in the body, and they're not going to have that intro context that I thought was so important that I wanted to spend a lot of time on it. So that's part of the issue as well. And I don't want to start off every of those other videos saying, by the way, guys, go watch, make sure you watch this so you get a good idea of blah, blah. No. They clicked on a 15-minute video because they wanted to watch a 15-minute video, not because they wanted to go and watch yet another 15-minute video first. On top of that, if someone is doing me the gracious honor of watching all of my videos in a row, now they have to listen to that 20-something, 30-something times with where the word count is right now, and how many of these short videos I would have to go. I don't want that either. That's not okay. So I'd have to figure out how to do that in an unobtrusive way, and I'm sure I could just have it be a graphic instead of being something that I actually say, and then also hopefully maybe be able to do the thing with the link. But isn't that annotations? And if that's the case, I've had annotations turned off for fucking years, so not everybody would get it anyway. So, I mean, that's a big negative right there. Another negative when it comes to using word length as an example is the section that I'm working on right now. I went ahead and did a word count on that as well. The total script at the moment, 56,780 words. The section I'm working on right now is 5,770. At that same average of 130 words per minute, that comes to 44 minutes just on this section. Now, I'm not going to force myself to do the same length video every time, but that's too long. If I'm shooting for 15, then that means that I should allow something to stretch to 20, maybe, but not 44. So now I have to take this single section, which is a single section for a reason. It's one idea that I'm discussing, and break that up. So that's another negative right there. I'm going to have to do a part 1, 2, and 3, but within a thing where it's an entire video series already. Now let's go and add to the other side again. Now here's a positive. There's one aspect of the game that I decided to not talk about. And God, it's going to be hard. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to say it. PvP. I state in the intro that I'm not going to talk about it because it's not... I don't do it. I am the opposite of an authority on it. If someone else wants to take the rest of the episodes and what I've built and make their own episode later on, then they can do that, and they can just call it part whatever. But I'm not going to talk about it past this point. And so I mentioned some caveats. Here's how it's going to be handled, and just assume that every other little aspect of the game that we're changing, or that I would change, would kind of get a pass when it comes to the consequences of these design choices on PvP. However, if I do it in this shorter episode segment, that would allow me to go ahead and give it just one episode. And it would allow me to talk about it a little more, which would be good because I've come across a problem a few times through while writing the rest of the script, where these other changes that I'm suggesting or making or whatever would definitely have an impact on PvP. However, I also have a clever solution in mind. And yet, in the intro, I talk about how I'm not going to talk about PvP. Now, sure, I could remove that little bit, but the problem is, there's a reason why I'm holding on to it, and that is, I feel all aspects of the game that you discuss should get full attention. Well, to me, that means if I'm going to talk PvP, I should just talk PvP, right? But I still don't want to. So what I think this would allow, if I did it in this way, is I could go ahead and have an episode for it at the end. Instead of dedicating a chunk of the intro where I kind of allude to certain things I haven't talked about yet, and remove the surprise factor and the wow factor, I think is more appropriate. When we do get to those parts where I talk about these changes that we can do to these game mechanics, in order to let people know that this has been handled in this way with regards to PvP, we can have this PvP episode at the end and have a statement about all of these other parts of the game that we've talked about that would have PvP implications. Here's how it relates now, and here's this nice smooth way that makes this system all buttery smooth together. So that's a positive to do in the shorter segments. So we've got these positives and these negatives that both, that's just one more of the positives. So we've got these positives and negatives, and because of how many, there's no clear winner, obviously. And there is no way to compromise or to make these things work together. So in the end, I'm gonna have to choose one. Now, I'm still writing the script. I still have forever to change. I have so much more work to do still. I still haven't even got to finishing this section. This section is not the last section before the conclusion, and then the conclusion is going to take a long time. And then I need to go back, and those 15 pages of notes are probably going to turn into 30 plus pages of actual content once I integrate those into their appropriate parts. So, fuck. There's so much more to go before I need to make this decision. But again, I want to have this ongoing conversation with you guys on what you think about it, because right now, with her concern and how she knows that I want to share, and how I want to share my passion, and I do want this thing to reach, she brings that up again. So I'm thinking, okay, with each method, either having hour-long videos or having these short 12 to 20-minute videos, having so many pluses, I guess what I need to do is I need to decide what is the most important thing to me. And in reality, it's that reach. It's getting the videos out there, people seeing them, kids seeing them, so that they can start to think about this. I see a lot of kids whining online about, well, why didn't you just do this? And it might be obvious to me why a developer decided to do a game system this way instead of that way. And you try to explain it to a kid, and they're just going to say, oh, it would just be more fun if, but they don't think through the implications of what that if would be. So, for example, and this is obviously not the game, but for example, something like Fortnite or any other battle royale, where they work toward, after every so many games, you can just float out of the fucking bus with full range of a full loadout of whatever you want. And they're not thinking through the fact that if you make that number of games anything less than 100 games, then that means that on average there's going to be someone in every single match that's going to just land with guns blazing and just fucking destroy everyone. And these kids may very well be some of those early deaths, and that's not good. That's a problem. On top of that, it also would take 100 games to get there. Well, what if we increase that so that it's not every single match on average there's someone landing with all of those guns? Well, now you have to go, 2, 3, 500 games before you get to do that, in which case this thing might as well not even exist at all. So that's an example of younger guys, younger girls wanting something without thinking through the implications. And I want these videos to get out there to get them to start to have a more analytical feel for the games they play and the desires they may have for those games, and so on. So if the most important thing to me is the reach and getting this out there, then that leads toward the shorter videos. And I'm just going to have to figure out and solve the problems of, well, I've got this really big section and the intro is going to be an episode on itself, and I don't want to bother everyone at the beginning of the episode telling them to go watch the other one. I guess I'll just have to solve those problems. So I guess at the moment now I'm swapping back to, I brought it up before in that previous video as an option. It had been something I had been thinking about for a while, but I still kind of decided to stay the course at the end, because that perception, I really didn't want people to think that I was doing shorter videos to get more views. I'm just going to have to let them think what they want to think. Despite the fact that perception is important, I'm just going to have to make these good professional looking videos that already just high quality good stuff. And the fact that I'm not gonna be one of those YouTube, I'm not gonna play the YouTube game. I'm not gonna ask for subs, likes, shares. I'm not gonna be directing you to my will never exist Patreon, any of that bullshit. Obviously, I'm not doing all of these separate videos just to get more clicks or more views on my channel. Because if I cared so much about that, then I'd be doing all of these other things that you honestly should do if you're trying to do YouTube growth. Engage with the audience, but also remind them to engage with you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to make my living off YouTube. I'm just trying to use it as a platform to share my passion, and if other people find it and like it, that's great. And hopefully it spreads so that the more people see these unique videos like this, because it really is niche stuff that we're talking about here. Hopefully that gets people, you know, the population just a little bit more mindful of an aspect of the games that they play that they may not normally think about. So I guess that's what I'm leaning toward now. Hopefully this video doesn't do the same thing that the other ones did and goof up the audio, but I'm at the gym. It's time to go do some arms. I'll see you guys next time.